Hmm. Yeah. Um, what do you have to say about the Asian architecture like China, Japan, and wood? Which, of course,
Yeah, I mean, Japan and China, they never really, in their temples, they never really went into making stone buildings. And we tend to think it's rather odd that they didn't make stone buildings. And it's all the more odd because when you their wooden buildings, they don't have what we call efficient trusses to hold their roofs up. Our trusses, our roofs, we tend to, if you look in your roof, it tends to have a triangular arrangement with the wood going in little triangles. That's very stiff in the Far East, and people have looked down on the Chinese as being sort of primitive. But in fact, recent tests have shown that because the fact that you've got all the bits of joined at right angles in rather and the joints are very loose, what that means is that if you have an earthquake, the heavy roof of the building can stay still while the rest of the building sways. Nothing gets damaged, it just sways a bit. Energy is dissipated in these complex joints they have at the corners called dugongs, and the building stands up. And I've seen tests done by Chinese engineers on a scale model of a building from the Forbidden Palace in Peking, and that's capable of withstanding earthquakes of which are over 10 on the Richter scale. So that's bigger than any earthquake we've ever had. So it's not surprising that the Forbidden City in Peking has lasted over 600 years, and buildings in Japan, pagodas in Japan, have lasted even longer, over 1500 years. And the Japanese pagodas have a special extra device. They have a big pole hanging from the roof. Building sways, the pole sways at a slightly different frequency. It absorbs the energy, and those pagodas don't fall down in earthquakes either. Whereas San Francisco was totally devastated by its earthquake back
hmm
in 1901 or whatever.
yeah. Wood's more flexible properties make it more resistant to earthquakes. Not more resistant to fires, uh, but to earthquakes certainly.
No,
No.
no.
Um,
The good news is about fires is these huge modern laminated beams are so thick um, that they are very resistant to fires, and that they are at their surface, and they don't suffer much damage even in the worst of fires. It's different from the metal frame skyscraper. The steel is all too likely to actually be melted by the fire and then just collapse in a heap. The wood manages to stay upright. So
mhm,
it's if you use wood in the right way, you can make it flame resistant.
mhm. Yeah, especially if you use like a heavier wood, maybe like I suppose maybe a good solid piece of oak, or maybe ironwood would be good. Or
Yeah,
yeah.
it's even been said that the Soviets, when building their spacecraft, it's going to be a problem when you come back into the Earth's atmosphere, and your spacecraft heats up. And the American shuttles had special tiles on them to to insulate them. Unfortunately, a couple of those broke off once, leading to one of the disasters of the shuttle, one of the two shuttle disasters. In in contrast, some of the Soviet space were just in wood, and as they came through the atmosphere, it just charred on its surface, formed a very insulating layer of black sort of charring, and
Hmm.
protected their spacecraft better than the specially designed super expensive tiles of the shuttle.
Wow, maybe we should start using wood on spacecraft more.
And another, they also, of course, the Soviets are famous for using wooden pencils in space rather than special biros, and that's another cheap, clever little solution whereby using wooden technology rather than having to think up some rather more complex that it's said that the Soviets one of the gave them helped them in their sort of race against America in the great space race of the 1960s.
Hmm.